With two healthy parents, one a jock and another an athlete. Why in God's name was I born blind? When I was born, my parents were expecting their 8-pound baby girl to come out of the womb as perfect as the two other children had, but I came out at the scene of a major hospital incident. Upon exit from my mother's womb, the doctor had put too much eye-opener in my eyes. Instead of it helping me to see, it blinded me. Apparently, the overexposure of the solution to my delicate membranes weakened my eyes. The doctor couldn't explain how this had happened. He simply admitted that it was his fault and sent my parents home with a note that they were entitled to sue if they believed he was negligent, but they weren't the suing kind. They were the praying kind. My mother told me that she didn't blame the hospital, she wanted to blame God. She wanted to say, "God, why in the world did you do this to my child?" For 9 months, my mother had been praying for a good birth delivery. She had been going to church. She had been singing gospel songs on the job where she assembled cars at General Motors in Detroit, Michigan. And here, God had allowed her baby daughter's eyes to be bruised and blinded. She must have said, "God, you are so mean. I hate you." But mother never hated God. Instead, she prayed more. And would you believe that several months after I was brought home, I started seeing. Glory to God. I can see today, and I have been able to see every day of my life since then because God gave me back my eyesight. Gosh, if my parents thought their problems were over because my sight had been restored, imagine how they felt when my mother first noticed how slowly I moved about the house at the age of 5. By then, there were 4 children in our family, an older brother, older sister, me and a younger sister. They were the typical excited children, but not me. I was slow. I was kept indoors. I could not go out and play with my brothers and sisters because something was wrong with me. Finally, my mother decided to ask a doctor about it. The doctor performed several blood tests. The results came back, and I was diagnosed with sickle cell anemia. You could call it low blood count. This means that I was supposed to live a cloistered, inactive life and probably die early. My parents were frustrated. They must have said something like, "God, how dare you do this to my daughter? I hate you." Wasn't it enough when you let the doctors at the hospital make the mistake with her eyes? Why does she have to have a low blood count? They had their struggles, but they stopped complaining and started praying. Does God honor a praying mother? You bet. Does God honor a simple short prayer? You bet. In fact, my mother was a very simple woman, not a spiritual dynamo or prayer warrior or anything, but she wasn't into complaining. She grew up Southern Baptist. She went to church every Sunday. She had a great voice and used to sing in the choir. But she was not a prayer warrior. Somehow, this time she just thought that prayer would help, and it did. And now, here they were years later, asking God for another miracle because my blood count was abnormal through a condition that plagues a lot of African Americans. It's called sickle cell anemia. But we needed another miracle because the doctors at the hospital had said, "We can't help your daughter very much. I'm afraid that she will be slow all of her life." This is how sickle cell anemia works. My mother must have said something like, "Thanks a lot, I'm sure you did all you could," and vowed to keep me inside of the house for the rest of my life. But just in case God would do another miracle, she sent up a prayer at my bedside. "God, if it would please you, please don't let my daughter be slow. Let her have a normal life. Heal her of this disease." And a few months later, on a follow-up appointment, the doctors took my blood count again, and would you believe, this time it was normal. The doctors couldn't explain his previous diagnosis and what had happened to me. All he could say is, "I have never seen anything like this before." But my mother told him, God did a miracle for her. Later, when I thought about this, my heart was filled with gratefulness. I thought, hey, God. Who are you? What have you done? Another miracle for me again.